The man who sat on platform 3. On most mornings, platform 3 at the small railway station in Leeds looked the same. People arrived half awake, holding paper cups of coffee. Some checked their phones. Some stared at the train tracks as if answers to their problems might appear there. Among those people was a man named Arthur. Arthur was 68 years old. Every morning he sat on the same bench. Same place, same time, same quiet routine. If someone watched carefully, they would see that Arthur always arrived at exactly 8:10. The train he waited for arrived at 8:32. But the strange thing was this: Arthur never got on the train. He simply sat there. Every day. For 3 years. Most commuters never noticed him. Busy people rarely notice quiet details. But one person did. A young woman named Mila. She worked at the small bakery inside the station. Every morning she prepared coffee, bread, and sandwiches for travelers rushing to work. On her first week there, she saw Arthur. He came to the counter slowly. "Good morning," she said. Arthur smiled politely. "Morning," she asked. "Coffee?" Arthur nodded. "Small one, please." She handed it to him. He said, "Nice to meet you." She blinked. "You already said that yesterday." Arthur looked confused for a second, then laughed softly. "Well, that happens sometimes." After a few weeks, Mila noticed something interesting. Arthur always sat on the bench on platform 3, but he never looked at his phone, never read a newspaper, and never seemed impatient. He simply watched people. One morning, Mila carried a fresh cup of coffee to him. "You forgot your change," she said. Arthur looked up. "Oh, let me check." He searched his coat pockets slowly. Then he smiled. "Looks like you're right." Mila sat on the other end of the bench. She hesitated before asking the question. "Can I ask you something?" Arthur nodded. "Of course." Mila pointed toward the tracks. "You come here every day, but you never take the train." Arthur looked at the empty rails. For a moment he didn't answer. Then he said quietly, "Well, it depends on the situation." Mila laughed. "That's not really an answer." Arthur smiled gently. "You're right." A train passed on the opposite platform. Wind and noise filled the station for a moment. Arthur watched the passengers. Then he said, 3 years ago my wife used to take that train." Mila waited. Arthur continued. "She worked in York. Every morning we came here together." He paused. Then, one morning, she didn't come back. Mila felt the air become heavy. "I'm sorry." Arthur nodded. "Life does that sometimes." Then he added softly, "It's not a big deal." But Mila could hear in his voice that it was, in fact, a very big deal. The next morning, Mila saw Arthur again. She brought him coffee without asking. Arthur looked surprised. "Oh, thanks." She shrugged. "No worries." They sat quietly. Mila looked around the station. "I moved to this city last month," she said. Arthur nodded. How's it going? Mila laughed. Well, I'm just getting used to it. Arthur smiled. That makes sense. A group of students ran past them to catch a train. One of them dropped a book. Arthur picked it up and handed it back. The student said, "Thanks." Arthur replied politely, "Take your time." Mila watched him. "You talk to strangers very easily." Arthur shrugged. "When you get older, you realize something." What? Arthur looked at the busy station. Everyone is carrying something heavy in their life. You just can't see it. Mila nodded slowly. I see what you mean. That afternoon, the station became unusually quiet. A train had been delayed. Passengers stood around waiting. Some were irritated. Some looked tired. A man near the ticket machine complained loudly. I've been waiting 30 minutes. Arthur looked at Mila and said calmly, That's a fair point. Mila laughed. You're very calm about everything. Arthur leaned back on the bench. Well, as far as I know, getting angry never made a train arrive faster. Over the next few weeks, something changed. People began to notice Arthur. A commuter named James started greeting him every morning. How's it going? Arthur replied. We'll see how it goes. A woman with a dog often stopped to chat. One morning, she asked Arthur, Why do you always sit here? Arthur answered honestly, Because memories sit here. She nodded slowly. That sounds like a good idea. One rainy morning, Mila arrived late to work. She ran into the station, breathing hard. Arthur looked up. You look tired. Mila sat down heavily. I'm running a bit late. Arthur chuckled. That happens to everyone. Mila sighed. I stayed up too late watching films. Which one? Mila smiled. Old British films. Arthur nodded with interest. Good choice. Mila looked at him carefully. Then she asked, Arthur, can I ask you something else? Arthur nodded. Go ahead. Mila hesitated. Then she said, Why do you still come here every day? Arthur looked at platform 3 again. The rails shone under the grey sky. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he spoke slowly. Because leaving something behind takes time. Mila stayed quiet. Arthur added softly, Some people move on quickly. He tapped the bench. I'm still learning how. A train approached in the distance. Passengers stood up. Arthur watched them. Then he said something strange. You know, when my wife was alive, she always told me something. What was it? Mila asked. Arthur smiled gently. She used to say, It's up to you. Mila frowned. What does that mean? Arthur looked at the arriving train. It means life gives you doors, but you decide whether to walk through them. The train stopped. Doors opened. People stepped inside. Arthur stood up slowly. Mila watched him, surprised.
Are you getting on the train?
Arthur looked at the open doors. He thought for a moment. Then he said quietly, "I'll think about it."